Okay, we're in the Meadow House Gardens, and it's that time of year where we're planting a lot of bulbs for spring, summer, and fall blooms. And I wanted to go over today not only some of the bulbs that I'll be planting here in the garden, but also bulbs that you could plant to get 9 months of bloom. I think it's really important to have a combination of perennial plants, both in bulb form as well as your regular herbaceous perennials that they just have regular roots, and then also some annuals, just so you have flowers all throughout the year for your pollinators and also for you just to enjoy as well. If we're lucky and it doesn't snow up and through April or May like we've had some years, we will often get bulbs emerging in February. And this is some of the earliest blooms I could tell you, which is our crocuses, and they'll come up right through the snow. And this one in particular is a species crocus that I have here. It's Crocus coralicoei, and this is a really nice kind of goldish yellow color, like a really rich kingly yellow with some red throats. And I thought I'd try this in this garden this year. I actually just took the fence off of this rose, and I think I'm going to plant them in with the roses. Because I'll tell you what, crocuses are one of those nice edible bulbs that some of the squirrels and chipmunks maybe like to dig out. Deer will also eat crocuses, so that is something to consider. The other two plants that I would say that are really good during February month when you still have snow on the ground would be galanthus and also eranthus. So eranthus is the yellow blooming flower. It's really nice to have some yellows, especially during the drab winter months, because these plants come up when the grass is still kind of brown. So here you can see this is the crocus, and it's just a little corm right there, and you can see the growing tip. And you don't have to plant these. These are quite small, so you don't have to plant these too deep. Even just 2 inches deep is totally fine. Some folks will like to maybe bury them a bit deeper, because if you have animals and you're not going to be fencing them in and you think that they're going to be digging them out, then that's something that you might want to consider. And these are small plants. They actually look good when they're planted really close together. So I even put like a couple in the same hole. They don't have to be more than 2 inches apart from one another. And as I was sharing, some of the other ones that come up in February would be galanthus and eranthus. And galanthus has kind of like a droopy white flower, and then the eranthus is a really beautiful yellow flower that grows really close to the ground. All of these are quite close to the ground early on, and you'll see you get some warm days maybe in February, or like I said, these will come out a little bit later if you have a really cold season. But if you get one of those warm, sunny days out in February, it's amazing to see how the honeybees and the bumblebees will flock to these, because there's really nothing else in bloom aside from maybe like witch hazels or maybe some really early blooms on some trees, but that's just about it. And so when those bees come out, they're looking for something to pollinate, and those are real winners. March weather can be unpredictable, but crocuses, eranthus, and galanthus hold their ground. Other bulbs begin to make their entrance, including the bright and cheery narcissus, commonly known as daffodils. And if the weather is mild, Anemone blanda, the Grecian windflower from the buttercup family, will follow, scattering its delicate color through garden beds and even across the lawn. In April, I would say the real winners of bulbs would be hyacinths. It's actually my middle name. I have a real preference for hyacinths. We have a number that are planted throughout here. I have some really dark purple, kind of dark purpley black ones that I've planted all throughout here. And the scent of hyacinth, I mean, it's really considered an aphrodisiac. It has a really luscious, beautiful scent. Oftentimes, if I'm in like New York City and I'm traveling through, they'll have hyacinth bulbs on display like pretty early on. In the garden, they'll bloom in April, but they'll try to pass them off and force them in winter months as like the first sign of spring, probably in late February, early March. And the scent of them is just really beautiful. A lot of those hyacinths are going to be cold hardy enough that you could actually plant them directly in your garden and they will perennialize, which is going to be nice. Now, if you want a flower that looks like an overgrown galanthus that reliably blooms from late April through June, then look no further than leucojum, or summer snowflake. The biggest perk is that along with daffodils, it's deer resistant. May time, of course, is our tulip bulbs. And if you recall, we planted tulips for the first time last year in this garden, and not all of those will perennialize, but I was shocked because I was actually digging up through this garden. Here's a tulip bulb, speaking of that. And there were quite a lot of tulips that I had planted that had roots on, and they look like they're going to be emerging next year as well. So here's one, yeah, here's one right here. Let's see. Ooh, it's really rooted in there. So this is one that I probably planted last year, and look at those roots. And then there's a baby one coming off of right there. So I think that even though we won't have as many tulips as we did last year, we will have some. What I decided to do this year, this is a new one that I had planted in that probably got dug up. I'm deciding to plant ones that have white and red, kind of like fiery prints on them, like a Rembrandt style tulip that are white and red. Not just like pure white or pure red, that have both white and red on them. So I had a number of different varieties. I'll throw all those up on the screen. And I planted them throughout here, pretty much in the front of row. A nice pairing with tulips is muscari, or the grape hyacinth, which is a bumblebee's delight, and it's a flower that naturalizes readily. June is our camassia, which kind of come at the end of May, beginning of June. And then late June, July, the alliums are really going to shine. One of the things that I'll be doing is planting some of the alliums in the back row. And alliums are some of those plants that I wanted to plant in here because I didn't have a lot of plants during June, July, and August. So I have a number of alliums here. This one is Summer Drummer. You can see it's a medium-sized allium. And hence the name, you're going to get Summer Drummer. It's going to be in July, maybe even in August. And I have a number of other big ones. Look how big this one is. This is probably one of the gladiator alliums. And then I have some Mount Everest and a number of others. So you could get alliums, obviously, of all sizes. Pretty much if you have a big bulb like this, it means that you're going to get a really big inflorescence. So sometimes these inflorescences could be 10 inches across. Most typical ones that I've been planting are more like 4 to 8 inches across. But you have to plant these pretty deep as well. And then I have some smaller ones here. And so my plan is to plant these back of border and again have more plants blooming during that off month of June and July. And I have to be careful because look, I'm digging up some of those tulips and look at that really lovely root structure. So I'm going to get one of these big bulbs down here. And you could plant these close together because they're going to be blooming at different times of the year. So when the tulips are dying back, your alliums are going to take shape. I also came in here and planted quite a lot of camassia. So I had camassia. It's one of the first bulbs that I had planted in here. And I came in and planted a bunch more. And then July, we're going to have still some alliums, but the crocosmia, which again is some of our summer blooming bulbs. I'll show you some photos of these beautiful C-shaped arching red flowers that the hummingbirds absolutely love. It's amazing to me that these are hardy to our zone because they are plants that have a real tropical flair. And I was chatting with my friend the other day. I don't plant a lot of tropical plants out in the garden. I know a lot of people like that, but this one is probably as tropical as it gets in my garden. But I'm partial to it because the hummingbirds absolutely adore it. And because this garden has a lot of reds and purples, I think it fits really well. As we get to August, the crocosmia are probably still in bloom because they have a fairly long bloom season. And then we get into the dahlias and the liatris. So depending on the time frame, I have these liatris spicatas, and this tends to bloom a little bit earlier than some of my other liatris. This is probably the earliest blooming liatris, and you can see that the seed heads are out now in November. I still think they look stately. I keep up the seed heads for the birds, but these are nice little tight corms, and you could get a number of these for a fairly affordable price. And these are one of my favorite genera that I plant in the garden. So I would say August and September is liatris, all different types of liatris. And then your dahlias. So I came through here and cleared out a lot of the dahlias. I was collecting tubers the other day, so those are not hardy. If you leave them in the ground, that's okay, but they're probably not going to be coming back in our zone at least, which is a zone 5-6. And they will really bloom all the way up until your first frost. This year, unfortunately, we had a frost that came early in October and they were pretty much done, which is unfortunate. Years before, we didn't have frost until early November, so we had flowers all up until that time. But this year just came a little bit earlier than we had anticipated, and we had to remove those. The other plants that you will get that will start blooming in October and in through November, if you don't have a frost, will be your fall crocuses and your colchicums. I could point you to some of these fall crocuses here, and I could show you our colchicums from last year because the colchicums came and went. But here is some of those fall crocuses. So you have spring crocuses and you also have fall crocuses. And interestingly enough, the crocus that gives us that saffron, the most expensive spice in the world, is actually the little stamens of a species crocus that blooms in fall. That's not this one, but it's very similar to this. And these started to pick up blooms really in late October, and now we're in early November. So you can see that you still have some of those blooms. But some of our species liatris, this is not a spicata. This is Liatris scariosa variation newlandii. You can see that some have gone to seed already and some is still in flower. So you'll see some of those flowers, and they actually last throughout the fall, even past some of those freeze-thaw dates, because this is one of our native species that is a bit more built and has evolved in this area. So I would say that those are some of the great bulbs, corms / tubers that you could be growing for blooms 9 months out of the year. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing in this area for right now, because during that June, July, August time, we really didn't have much blooming in here. After the tulips kind of came and went, it was a little blah. So hopefully next year we'll have more beautiful blooms. All right, I'll see you in the next episode. Got to get to work now.